You're standing in front of a plant you've never seen before. Bright berries, waxy leaves, a smell you can't quite place. There's no label. No app to scan it. No poison control hotline. One wrong decision and you could be dead by morning. For 99% of human history, this wasn't a hypothetical. This was a real moment that happened to real people, over and over, for roughly 300,000 years. And somehow, they figured it out. So how did ancient humans know what was safe to eat? Let's start with what we know for certain. Modern humans eat maybe 20 to 30 different foods on a regular basis, most of it processed, packaged, and tested by someone else before it ever reaches your plate. But hunter-gatherer diets were staggering in comparison. Anthropologists studying groups like the Hadza in Tanzania have documented over 800 different plant and animal species eaten across a single year. Roots, tubers, insects, birds, dozens of species of berries, tree bark, marrow, organs. Every single one of those had to be learned. Not guessed, learned. And here's the part that should terrify you. Many of those plants were poisonous in the wrong preparation. Cassava, a staple root eaten across Africa and South America for thousands of years, contains cyanide-producing compounds. Eaten raw, it can kill you within hours. Ancient humans figured out that soaking it, fermenting it, and cooking it in a specific sequence removes the toxins almost entirely. Nobody wrote that down. Nobody had a lab. Someone at some point died learning it, and everyone else remembered. That's the first mechanism. Trial and error, paid for in lives, passed down as knowledge. Every food taboo, every strange preparation ritual, every don't eat that part rule in traditional cultures around the world has one thing in common. Researchers studying folk food practices have found that the vast majority of them map directly onto real, measurable toxins or parasites. The taboo wasn't superstition. It was survival data, wrapped in a story so it would actually stick in people's memory. But humans also had a built-in detection system, and you still have it right now. Bitterness. Your tongue has dozens of receptors specifically tuned to detect bitter compounds far more than any other taste. That's not an accident. In nature, bitterness is one of the most reliable warning signs for toxic alkaloids. Babies spit out bitter foods automatically before anyone teaches them to. It's wired in. Ancient humans who ignored that instinct didn't get to pass on their genes as often as the ones who trusted it. Smell worked the same way. Rotten meat, spoiled fat, and fungal growth all produce distinct odor compounds that trigger an instant disgust response. Not a thought. A reflex. Researchers have found this disgust reaction is remarkably consistent across completely unconnected cultures worldwide, which suggests it's ancient, older than language itself. Then there's fire, and this changes everything. Cooking doesn't just make food taste better, it breaks down toxins, kills parasites, and unlocks calories that would otherwise pass straight through the body undigested. Some researchers argue that the controlled use of fire, going back at least 1 million years, is the single biggest reason humans could exploit so many risky food sources in the first place. Roast it, boil it, smoke it, and suddenly half the things that could kill you raw become dinner. Now let's reconstruct how someone actually tested a new food. It wasn't reckless, it was methodical, almost scientific, generations before science existed. First, someone rubs a small piece of the plant on their lips or skin and waits. If there's burning, itching, or numbness, it's rejected immediately. If nothing happens, a tiny amount is chewed and spat out, never swallowed, just to test the taste and smell. Still nothing bad, then a small piece is actually eaten, and the person waits. Hours, sometimes a full day, watching for nausea, dizziness, cramping. Only after that entire process, sometimes repeated over multiple exposures, would a new food be accepted into the group's diet and taught to children. This is essentially the same logic behind modern toxicology testing. Small dose. Observe. Escalate. Except, ancient humans were running that experiment with their own bodies and passing the results down as oral tradition, myth, and ritual, because a story is far easier to remember than a chemical formula. Children were never left to figure this out alone. Across hunter-gatherer societies studied by anthropologists, food knowledge transmission is intensely social. Kids learn by watching, by being handed a small safe portion first, by being told exactly which part of an animal not to eat and why. In many groups, Certain foods are explicitly forbidden for children or pregnant women, not because of superstition, but because those groups are more vulnerable to specific toxins, and the culture encoded that protection into a rule everyone just follows without needing to understand the biochemistry behind it. And this knowledge wasn't static. It traveled. When groups migrated into new environments with unfamiliar plants and animals, they didn't start from zero. They applied the same testing framework, the same instincts, the same caution, to an entirely new landscape. That adaptability, more than any single piece of knowledge, is what let humans spread into nearly every environment on Earth, from deserts to Arctic tundra to dense rainforest, each one full of species no human had ever encountered before. Then, agriculture happened, and the entire system changed. Once humans started farming a small number of domesticated crops, the need for that vast, dangerous knowledge of hundreds of wild species started to fade. You didn't need to know which of 800 plants were safe. You needed to know how to grow wheat, or rice, or maize, and that was it. Diets narrowed dramatically. Convenient, predictable, but also fragile. A crop failure now meant famine in a way that foraging across hundreds of backup food sources never did. Today, you don't test your food by rubbing it on your lip and waiting. You trust a label, a regulatory agency, a supply chain you've never seen. That system works remarkably well, most of the time. But it also means an entire body of knowledge, thousands of years deep, about which wild plants heal and which ones kill, has quietly vanished from most of the world in just a few generations. Your ancestors carried an encyclopedia in their heads that no book could hold, tested one bite at a time, refined by people who died so others wouldn't have to. You inherited their appetite for risk, their bitter taste receptors, their disgust reflex, all still running in the background every time you smell milk that's gone off. You just never had to learn what they knew, because they already paid the price for you.